Alright guys, so broad store or a niche store. Niching down is always going to help you get suppliers, okay? If you start out with a broad store, like let's just say you want to sell outdoor stuff and you have like outdoorcity.com, the suppliers of high ticket products aren't going to think that you're a specialist, right? From just seeing your domain name, they're going to think you're just some like random drop shipper that wants to send stuff from AliExpress to the US, and it's not going to work out very well because for high ticket products you really need to be a specialist. You need to know how the products work, you need to know the price ranges, you need to know who they're for, you need to know what their applications are, you need to know how they're installed and assembled and all that stuff. If we're talking outdoor goods, we could talk about e-bikes, for example. It's one of the most popular niches out there, and e-bikes are extremely complex. Lots of different parts and components and modes and operations and options and customizations and just so many different things you can do to make these products really good and maybe sometimes really bad. It really depends on the person buying and what they need, and you and your capabilities in understanding the product category and stuff like that. So keep that in mind when you have a big broad idea to start with. That means you haven't done enough research to niche down to a specialist category where, number one, for sure that there's competition that's selling this, there's supply and suppliers, that they're drop shipping, there's plenty of demand for that niche category, and you're also a bit of a specialist yourself. You either had some experience with the product lines yourself, or you know how they work, or you have done a bunch of research to learn how they work before you sell them. And that's kind of the key here, because with high ticket e-commerce, you're basically doing high ticket sales online. So you got to build your website around the concept of high ticket sales and getting leads and following up with leads and closing sales and doing phone sales, email, sending out invoices, arranging freight shipments between suppliers and customers. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen with one of these businesses. People want to start these businesses and just think like it can be totally automated and stuff, and it really can't, because with high ticket specifically, even though you're making higher margins and whatnot, it's a lot more complex, and so automating things is very limited. A lot of times, you're going to have one different process for each supplier that you have. Some suppliers, they take orders on their dealer portal, some don't and have to do purchase orders. Some will have more complex processes like order forms you have to fill out, and spreadsheets and all that stuff. So every supplier is different. So automating these businesses, can be quite complex, and you can use AI to do stuff, sure, but you're still going to need a human involved. You cannot just have these businesses run by themselves. They're not like that. Any business out there cannot just run by itself. They need humans to run them. That's what makes them businesses. If you want a passive income investment, go check out the stock market. Buy some S&P 500 stocks. That will just basically go up and down with the stock market, and you're not going to have anything to do with any of the businesses that are included in those companies. You're just going to be a passive investor in those. Now, you're not going to make that huge returns, of course, and it's going to be very volatile. Of course, that's how it works with the stock market. But with any business, you're going to have to get involved in the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, and especially if you own the business. If you're the owner, wow, there's a lot of different things you got to manage. There's everything from customer service to sales and stuff like that. And so if you try to start a broad store and you go really wide, it can be very difficult because you have a lot of different suppliers in different categories, and they're all different processes and different product lines and different types of customers calling about different types of things. And it might be confusing for you because you don't really know what you're selling, and you have to talk to the supplier and go back and forth to the customer, and you just kind of look like an idiot when you're talking to the customer. You don't know what you're talking about. You can try to use AI to make sure that the live chat's automated, to write out really good emails and stuff like that, but eventually you're going to have to get on the phone with some of these people, especially the suppliers in the beginning. And if you don't know what you're talking about, they're gonna be like, man, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to this competitor who actually knows what they're talking about. There's plenty of businesses out there that have built businesses around these extremely complex high-ticket niche categories that know what they're talking about because they have lots of experience, or they've done lots of research, and they've been in the same business, in the same industry for a long time, and it's very difficult to compete. And that's kind of like the biggest moat that's around these business models with high-ticket dropshipping, is that you really have to understand the target market, the consumers, what their needs are, the seasonality, the pros and cons, different models and different brands, and like comparing them, and if someone's looking for one thing and it's not available, what's an alternative, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of shit you got to think about every single day when you're running one of these businesses. So in the beginning, for almost anybody, I would always recommend starting a micro niche store. So just a single product category site, like selling like an espresso machine or an e-bike or a wine cellar cooling unit, or an outdoor kitchen, or a grill site. It's just a single product category. Don't start one of these broad sites where they have like 5 or 10 categories. You want to go everything under the sun. And I've seen a lot of these sites and they just get so complex to run because you have to update everything all the time. You have to know about all these different categories and it's ridiculous. So yeah, it might seem like, wow, this is totally scalable. I should start a broader store and see what works. And then I guarantee you're gonna start a broader store and nothing's gonna work. Maybe only one product line is gonna end up actually selling. And then you're gonna consider shutting the whole thing down because nothing ever works and you just waste money on ads. I see that all the time and time again, and I've made that mistake in the past too. The best stores that I've had my entire life that worked really well, that I was able to grow like crazy and sell, were micro niche stores where one product line sold really well. We had like 2 or 3, maybe up to 5, but just a handful of best-selling suppliers across the entire site. The rest of them, were kind of like sold here and there. But and then another thing you have to look at is your profit margins. Like, how much is the margin for what you're selling? Is it high enough to advertise? Is it high enough to hire a VA? Is it high enough to do a bunch of marketing campaigns and stuff like that? Suppliers, they're always going to be changing their price. Their inventory goes up and down. So you got to keep in mind, like, every single supplier you get on board, yes, the potential is there to sell this stuff and scale, but the complexities grow as well. So guys, if you want help starting a niche specific store, I can help you. I have a turnkey business in a box done for you service. Go to ecommerceparadise.com/turnkey and get some idea of how it works on there. There's 3 phases to launch, and we can do all the work for you while you still own the business, and then we hand it off and we can continue to manage it for you if you want. We also have scaling services. If you have a store and you're looking to optimize it and scale it and get it profitable, go to ecommerceparadise.com/scalable. Sorry, ecommerceparadise.com/scaling, and you'll see all the scaling services there. And basically, we can help you get more suppliers, add more products, set up automations, manage your inventory and pricing updates, and all that stuff, so you can actually scale your store sustainably. And if you want a list of niche ideas for high-ticket dropshipping, I've got a list of over 1,000 different product categories. Go check it out at ecommerceparadise.com/niches. Links are in the description below, guys, and go check that out. Join our Patreon, join school. We got a whole membership community in there, people you can discuss things with and get ideas from, and I'm posting in there constantly. So go in there, guys, and get in there, and hit me up directly too as well at ecommerceparadise.com, or just go email me, Trevor@ecommerceparadise.com. I'm happy to help. I do private coaching as well. You can go to ecommerceparadise.com/coaching, get some idea there, and I can build out custom websites and do all this stuff. I've been doing it for like 15 plus years, and just overall the entire time what I found is that these niche stores convert so much better and are so much easier to start and less expensive to start than the broad stores. So definitely don't make that mistake. I talk about this over and over again because it's just so true, especially with high ticket stuff. You cannot make a mistake going broad in the beginning. And yeah, research matters a lot. The more research you do, the better. And you can use AI these days for everything, including research. So ask it to break down all these ideas, give it a list of things that you have experience with and match it up with a high ticket category. And then boom, you have a high ticket category that works really well. There's suppliers, there's competitors, there's demand, and it's something that you have experience with. That is the perfect combination, and you'll be able to be successful with this business model. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope it was helpful, and make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.